Here.
Mike Burns.
Here.
David Kyle.
Here.
Bob McAfee.
Here.
LaDonna Allen.
Here.
Mike Spencer.
Here.
We all please stand and join me in our pledge of allegiance and the invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you pray? Gracious God, we come before you to thank you for your presence here tonight for this session of the Carl Junction Board of Alderman. We give you all the glory and honor and acknowledge you as our creator and provider of all things. You know all things, and we humbly ask for your wisdom, God. As we begin this meeting, we ask that you would guide our thoughts and our actions so that we may guide and direct the community that you've entrusted to us. Please help us to make all these decisions according to your will and your character. We pray all these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you, Rick. Next is approval of the agenda. Any comments or changes to the agenda?
Move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. The agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting and approval of disbursements. Are there any comments, corrections, or questions about the consent agenda?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by David Powell. We approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. The consent agenda is approved. Next is public forum. Would anyone like to speak at public forum? We'll give you 5 minutes. Don't everybody rush up here at once. All right, last chance. I'm going to cut it off. Very well. No one wants to speak at public forum. We'll go on. Next is P&Z cases. Case 2304, ordinance amending chapter 410, supplemental regulations. This will be a public hearing. So I'd like to ask anyone who wants to speak in favor of this ordinance amending chapter 410. Steve?
Planning and zoning met on this last week, and they are recommending approval.
Any questions about this?
It said something about under certain conditions. Is there a particular, is there a reason why we would say no? Or, there's a lot of them.
One of the conditions is the fact that they'll have a form to fill out. It goes in front of planning and zoning. That was the basic premise of that.
Any other comments in favor of this? Yes, Mr. Talley.
This ordinance was drafted, modeled after City of Duquesne's lot consolidation ordinance, which I drafted several years ago. And it was drafted because a developer came to town who had 2 lots that he wanted to build his new store on. And he was perplexed as to how to do that on 2 lots. And he proposed to us that in Nixa, they had a lot consolidation procedure, just like they have a lot split procedure that cleans the record, clarifies what the lot now consists of, short of doing a replatting of a subdivision. And so he brought that language up from Nixa, which we adopted in Duquesne. It didn't appear that there was a need in Carl Junction at that time for it, but we confronted a situation with a need somebody wanted to build on more than 1 lot. This clears the record, makes it, it's a procedure just like lot split procedure. It's not very involved, but there are some conditions, and if you confronted a real problem with consolidating 2 lots, the engineer can get involved and some requirements can be made before the lot consolidation can be done. Anyhow, that's the history of it. And it's worked pretty well in Duquesne. They're not usually the leader of Carl Junction. Usually it's the other way around. But that's the case.
Thank you.
I guess I'd have another question. Right. This is going to show my ignorance when it comes to this, but like property tax. Yeah, they 2 separate lots. You pay taxes on both of them. When they combine it, it's based on square footage, I guess, or whatever.
No, actually what it does is it takes that property line that separates the two lots. Well, it makes that property line disappear, so it is one great big lot.
Is it gonna would your taxes go up, or do we know? Or can we tell?
Shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, if you're paying taxes, what the county does now is a house that is built on two lots, they will take one lot and assign the house to that lot, and then the other lot they will do as vacant property, just an empty lot.
Okay.
That's
So
what I-
now they won't have to do that. They'll be able to take the two tax numbers and combine them into one, so that it's only one tax number and you get one bill. There are exceptions to that, and that is if there is a section line runs through
That's
the
me.
property.
I tried to get it
Mayor has that.
consolidated. I
If there's a section line there, the county will not combine those two tax numbers.
That's all I have. Thanks.
couldn't. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this? All right, how about anyone opposed to this ordinance? If no one is opposed, then I will close the public hearing and we'll move on. There will be an ordinance later on. Next is approval of bids for the roof at 813 Joplin Street.
This is, the roof at the main public works building is leaking. It's been 10 plus years probably since it was coated. I don't remember for sure when it was done. It is now, that coating is cracking and leaking, and so this will, they'll wash it first, basically pressure wash it first, blow all the loose stuff off of it, seal the seams, and then put another coating on top of it. Nelson Enterprises came in at low bid, so that is the one that we are recommending.
And Public Facilities talked about it last week. Mike,
Yes.
say anything?
We did talk about that last week, but we didn't have any input from Jay, our Public Works Superintendent. I don't know if you have thoughts. There was two options, basically. One was the Solar Flex coating, and one was a silicone-based coating, and we decided maybe not that one because once we go silicone, there's no going back. But thoughts, Jay?
I really haven't seen it.
Then probably go with the low bid
Okay,
from Nelson Enterprises.
all right. Any other comments?
I move we accept the bid from Nelson Enterprises for $52,000. It was for sealing and coating wastewater or public works roof.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Spencer. Do we approve the recommendation of the planning or the Public Facilities Committee for the roof repair at 813 Joplin Street's Public Works Building? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. Let's get that roof repaired. Next, we'll move on to approval of bids for pavilions at Memorial Park Splash Pad. Mike?
We discussed this in public facilities meetings as well, and we decided to go with the bid. I guess the one bid we looked at, there was only one, and it's one in your packet from Schuber Mitchell to build 2 pavilions for, what is it,
11,000
$11,000 each, something around that. Public facilities.
I did check on metal instead of shingle, and the metal was going to be $38.75, around that number for each sheet. So it was going to take a whole lot more. It would cost a whole lot more than what just the shingles were.
And you guys recommended,
We did. Would like to make sure, and I think we can recommend this, but sometimes what we have here in front of us is a schematic that does include a metal roof, and so it would be nice to have the correct bid in that we're recommending here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes.
yeah,
So
the bill of materials doesn't show it in there.
It
But,
doesn't, and so
but the
we're just kind
drawing
of
does.
recommending it based on what we believe to be correct rather than what we're actually seeing here. Which I don't
agree.
like that, but yes, we think that we should get those taken care of probably before, sooner rather than later, so they can be shade when our patrons are using splash pads. We
Okay.
recommended that in public facilities.
All right. Any other comments?
I move we approve the bid from Schuber Mitchell to construct 2 pavilions at Memorial Park at 11 to 12 each.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by David Pyle, to approve the bid by Schuler Mitchell for the 2 pavilions by the Splash Pad Memorial Park. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. Hopefully we can get those up before it gets too warm. You don't have any idea when they're gonna start on it?
Nope, I'll get ahold of him tomorrow.
Okay. We have to do any dirt work?
Okay, we'll have to do a little bit to be able to pour concrete.
Okay. All right. Next is discussion of repairs to the wastewater treatment plant. And I believe you have someone here to talk about that too.
I do. It started in the public facilities meeting we had. We talked about this bid from G&G Construction. And then the very next day, I got an email from Kurt Higgins saying that we really needed to talk about this before we approve this bid. And so I asked Eric DeGruson from Algier Martin, and Jay can fill in some blanks on it too, what they're proposing different than just repairing the rotors, going to a different type of system that is, my understanding, better, less maintenance, probably lasts longer too. So I'll turn it over to Eric and let him.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a ton of information tonight, but relative to repairing this road. We've seen a lot of communities change from the rotors, which are a fairly older but tried and true method of providing aeration for the treatment, to some removable diffusers and mixers, or a combination of those things. And I think it might be they're a little more efficient. You can add some variable frequency drives to control how much air and oxygen you put in there. You have to have blowers too, but I think it'd be beneficial, and I think that Jay and Harvey would agree that it might be worthwhile to take a little quick pause on this and compare the costs associated with the long-term life cycle cost of those things before we move forward with just replacing the rotor and continuing to do what we've done in the past with some of this newer technology that might be beneficial short-term and long-term in the treatment process.
Great. I like that. Would anyone like to move that we table this?
I would move to table
This is
this.
just a discussion.
Well, okay, as is discussion. That's right.
Next step would
Yeah,
be, I'll get a hold of them and say, let's draw up some plans and see what it looks like,
Then we'll need
and get
to
some
have
cost
a public
estimates.
facilities meeting on it.
Yep.
There
All
are
right.
some other improvements. I'm not sure if you're planning on bringing those up tonight or bringing them all in one package, or I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a complete package. There was a couple other things that need to be done too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Anything else on this discussion anyone would like to say? Very well. We'll move along to ordinances. An ordinance amending a contract with Portland West for additional engineering services at Lakeside Park.
Move we put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Holly Levine, to put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving amendment number 1 to an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Bartlett and West Incorporated to provide professional consulting services in connection with designing a shelter and restroom facility for the city of Carl Junction. Said amendment number 1 being to add park playground design and construction administration services for the additional sum of $13,030 in accordance with amendment number 1, providing the terms and conditions thereof, and authorizing the mayor to execute said amendment number 1 for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Discussion. Mike?
Well, this is something else that we discussed in the public facilities meeting last week, and unfortunately, our hands are tied, and we have, in order to fulfill the grant requirements, this is something that has to be done. So don't know that we have very many options except find somebody to provide playground design, and Bartlett and West is probably continuing on with the contract we already have is probably the way to go.
Any other discussion?
Move we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving amendment number 1 to an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Bartlett and West Incorporated to provide professional consulting services in connection with designing a shelter and restroom facility for the city of Carl Junction. Said amendment number 1 being to add park playground design and construction administration services for the additional sum of $13,030 in accordance with amendment number 1, providing the terms and conditions thereof, and authorizing the mayor to execute said amendment number 1 for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Is there any further discussion?
Move we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Holly Levine to put this ordinance on final passage. This is a handbook to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. In the affirmative, please vote electronically.
Yeah, we'll have to get the names changed.
Are they all on there? I can't see. Somebody hadn't voted.
There we go.
All right. The ordinance passes 8 in the affirmative, none opposed, and that is ordinance number
2323.
2323. Thank you. Next is an ordinance amending chapter 410 supplementary regulations.
Move we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Second. Motion by Donna Allen, second by David Pyle to put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri by amending Title IV Land Use, Chapter 410 Subdivision Regulations, Section 410.070 Supplementary Regulations, by adding new subsection E lot consolidations to allow lot consolidations under certain conditions.
Thank you. This is a discussion. This is the discussion we had after the P&Z case earlier on the public hearing. Is there any further discussion?
Move we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Rick Flynn, second by Bob McAfee, to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri by amending Title IV Land Use, Chapter 410 Subdivision Regulations, Section 410.070 Supplementary Regulations, by adding new subsection E lot consolidations to allow lot consolidations under certain conditions.
Any further discussion?
I have a question quick.
Yes.
See, we're charging a $50 application fee. I'm sure that the county charges a fee as well to consolidate these and to change it, and no other fees.
Have no idea if the county charges them.
I was just saying, make sure that, is that something that would be the requirement of whoever's
Yeah.
to go there? Okay.
Anything else?
Move we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to put this ordinance on final passage. This is a handbook to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. In the affirmative, please vote electronically. Bill? Okay. Keep you up to date, did it work? 8 in the affirmative, with none opposed. The ordinance passes. That is ordinance.
2324.
Thank you very much. Next is an ordinance amending ordinance 2314, changing the maximum level salary for patrolmen.
Move we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to put this ordinance on first reading and title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending ordinance 2314 establishing salaries for city employees by changing effective with the passage of this ordinance the maximum level salary of patrol.
Discussion? Yes, LaDonna.
First of all, I had mentioned before, we had a couple officers that we did not realize had passed that threshold already. This is like a housekeeping thing. But question I had, since when we originally pass it and it's the same as the budget and we do a first reading, we have to wait. If we're amending it, can we do the first and second and pass it in one meeting, or do we have to split it up?
There's no requirement that any ordinance we pass has to be done at separate meetings. We just have to have the two meetings.
Any further discussion?
Maybe we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second. Who did that?
Second.
You got the same problem I do. Motion by Lieutenant Allen, second by Rick Flynn to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending ordinance 2314, establishing salaries for city employees by changing effective with the passage of this ordinance, the maximum level salary of patrolman.
Any further discussion?
We put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Lyle Levine to put this ordinance on final passage. It's a hand vote to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative, please vote electronically. 8 in the affirmative with nobody against it. The ordinance passes. That is ordinance.
2325.
Thank you. Next is a long-term projects report, which you should have a copy of. Steve put it up there. Any comments anyone wants to talk about with Steve or anything? Was ripe about or anything?
Other than the staple being in the wrong corner.
Yeah, well, I know. It's like, I feel like I'm supposed to read Farsi or something. No other?
The only addition we have, that I have to that is that recreational trails program is not going to work for us because they don't allow for motorized vehicles on that program. And especially out at Lakeside Park where it is golf cart haven.
I'd like to keep them on those paths and off the street.
Yep.
Anything else on the long-term projects? You want to comment or anything? Talk about it?
I've got a question.
Sure, David.
I know there's a lot of discussion to be had about this, but can you bring me up to speed on what estimate there is on the repairs to the swimming pool to get it back functional, or do we have?
We do. We got a estimate in from a pool consultant contractor out of Kansas City, the one that built the splash pad. He came down and to redo the pool and bring it up to current pool standards and fix the leaks was anywhere from $900,000 to $1.2 million.
Yeah. Go buy your tickets tonight. Anything else for Steve?
Is there grants available for something like that?
No. I can't think of anything that would, off the top of my head. That was built in 1974, and it was a bond issuance that had been passed at that time to do it.
Anything else? Very well, we'll move along. The administration report, that's the long-term project report for this meeting. Probably could have been left off.
At the time, I thought there was going to be.
I understand totally. Department reports. Well, let's start off with Public Works. Any comments for Jay? So you're shutting off a lot of water meters.
Always. Once a month.
I got a question for you though. When you put those blue lines marking the water lines, and people mow their yards, you have to go back and do it again. That's what I was afraid of. That's why I don't mow mine.
They're almost there, very close.
Okay. Yeah, you're saying because they're coming along on pod 7 now, putting the main line in. So they're tearing a lot of stuff up. How many crews they got working now? Still got 4?
Yes. I believe they do have 4.
I checked mine. It's going to be in mid to late 2024. Oh, well,
Long ways to go.
yeah. Anything else for Jay on his report?
I have a question.
Yes.
We were putting in trash collection system in one of our pumps or something, in one of our lines.
Yeah. Or by
A
school.
basket, a new basket or something.
Yeah.
like that. Did we get that put in?
Yeah.
It isn't?
Yeah.
it's,
Get in.
it's lost,
It works better.
they took 2 5-gallon buckets out of it the other day.
But the land is, he's went and put it in.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, we'll move in on to the building inspector's report. Any comments on the building inspector's report? Yep. Okay, nothing for the building inspector? He's not here, or she isn't here, pardon me. We'll go into PD. I know we got PD here. Mr. Stever, any questions for PD? Any comments?
Have we heard from Myrna on the police car dispatch?
Not yet. Sent her an email, she hasn't responded back.
For the person not having
Well, wait.
insurance?
Yes, they did. They've got all of that insurance information, so we'll pay for it, then we'll get ours back from Myrna, and then Myrna will go after her insurance company.
Anything
I
else?
do have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you'll know, or if this will be in our report for next week. What was the gun incident that happened today near the high school?
It was a disturbance in the Prairie Hills Estate subdivision, which is close to the high school. We wound up making an arrest. One adult male was arrested as a result.
Anything else for PD? If not, I'm going to move on to committee reports. Budget and finance, Ladonna.
One thing, and I don't know if Steve was planning on touching on this or anything, but when we were in budget talks, we had talked about getting the mules and the mobile data terminals in the vehicles. And we had said we thought it would be about 5,000, I believe, for the mule system. We did get some good news. We can go in with Jasper County bid, correct? Is
Right,
it
Jasper County is.
April's, the 911 or Randy?
911.
911, and brought it down to about 1,100 on the mules.
Wow, that's good.
That will be a recurring cost, but
Every year.
it's much lower than we had thought, and we will have the money already built into the budget because we're going to have a little extra for payroll this month. We're short staffed, so it's not going to be a problem with funding. We'll still have to get the data cards correct from
Verizon, with more good news on that, Verizon for public safety doesn't sell they give you the equipment, they don't sell it to you. The only thing you incur is the monthly charge for each one of them. So, and those were $100 a piece.
Do they install them too, or do we have to do that ourselves? or what?
No, they're portable that you just carry with you.
Other than that, I have nothing on budget committee unless anyone has any questions or concerns that we need to try to meet about.
Just some of that stuff we decided we will have to readdress next year during budget as well.
Right.
It's not like we fixed it this year.
True. Anything else for budget? If not, we'll move on to code and nuisance. Rick,
Nothing this time, sir.
human resources,
Nothing.
budget. Thank you. Public facilities, Mike.
Yeah, we had a meeting last week, public facilities did, and you've already heard a lot of the things we talked about. We discussed a few things in this meeting, but we have quite a few short-term projects that we talked about and quite a few long-term projects as well, such as working on the trails and things like that. But I was gonna say half of you are on the public facilities committee, but the other half, if you have things that you think would relate to public facilities, some projects that need done, things like that, make sure you let me know, and it's something that we can keep track of and work on. just let me know if you have ideas. That's all.
Thank you. Anything else for Mike? You guys all attend those meetings. They're very interesting. Okay, we'll move right along then to unfinished business. Holly?
No, sir.
Bob? Rick?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing. LaDonna?
No one finished.
Mike?
I have nothing, sir.
Bill? Nothing. David?
Nope.
Mr. Talley?
Have you informed you
Um,
about my pending absences from, I have some surgery coming up at the end of this month that is going to take me out of commission for hopefully not long, but it's fairly serious surgery. And so I may miss a meeting.
And if you're at home then, we'll figure a way to have you call in. So if we have any legal questions that we need advice on, we can.
I will certainly try to make it to the meeting, but
Yeah,
for,
if you feel like calling in. If you don't, then we understand.
okay, that's all I have.
Thank
He
you.
set back his recovery.
Yeah, well, I know.
Forget time dealing with that.
Is that the same as don't call me on Wednesdays?
Wednesday afternoon. Elena?
No, sir.
Crystal?
Yes, sir. I will be leaving tomorrow morning for a conference and I will be on the rest of the week.
All right. As long as you're back for church Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Steve?
Had one online comment that I want to bring up to you. And a citizen has asked about if the use tax is off the books. And they said they know it's not popular, but everyone has one except us, and we desperately need it. Discussion has been previous, that we've talked about. It has failed. History has not been kind to us when it comes to the use tax, but they do have, legitimate concerns, of stuff that is breaking and roads and streetlights and the pool and all of that, and that use tax is absolutely a mechanism to repair those things that we don't really have that much funding for to begin with. I know we've talked in the budget committee several times about the use tax. We've also talked in public facilities about it too. It's another mechanism that could be used if we could get it passed. It could bring in a significant amount of money because everybody shops online nowadays. And their comment was Webb City and Joplin is raking it in for their improvements off of the use tax, which is absolutely true.
Yep. Well, we've talked about that, so we'll figure a way to do it. Just don't know when to do it.
Has there been any research in the past when it's failed on what the source of opposition was?
We're kind of in a no tax community.
Right.
Unless it's for the police, the fire, or the schools.
Right.
Those all pass.
There was significant pushback from the no tax sector. There was a lot of absolute nonsense that people had tried to attach to it also, that had really nothing to do with what the city does or how the city does things. We had good citizens that were verbally abused online because of it. So when basic word gets out on these things, people, whether they know or not, and more likely not, they start mouthing off about it. And that was a significant number of and it was just more than what we could combat and get true and real information out to people.
Because all we can do is put out information on it. We can't support it, we can't be against it. And the last time we did it, we asked the chamber to help us with it, and basically one of the guys said, no, they're not gonna help us with it. And so that was kind of surprised me because, you know, that helps the local businesses, you know, make level playing field with taxes. And if we're gonna do it again, then there needs to be some people in the community who think we need it, just to form a community committee and take care of it, and publicize it, and do that stuff. Because we can't do that. All we can do is tell you the facts. We cannot support it. You can individually, but not as a spokesman for the city.
And I think part of the problem is a misconception that it's a new tax, when it's not. It's a tax that people are avoiding.
Yeah, that's true.
That already exists. That
Yeah.
The city should have the benefit.
Yeah. I agree. Yes, LaDonna.
I think one thing that we did different than some other towns who put it on and didn't really do anything and it passed is we had proposed dividing it the same, taking the same amount, the 3% as our sales tax, but dividing it equally like our sales tax comes in. Like so much for streets, so much for capital improvement, you know. Other towns, like Webb City, it just goes to their general fund. So it adds up a lot quicker when you're doing that than trying to spread it out. And people wanted very specific answers. Like, well, if I do this, when will you build this? Which we can't really say because we have no idea how much it would bring in until we get a year or two into it. But I think if we were to do it again, and we have had some talks, do everything into the general fund. But I will tell you, top priority, if we did the use tax, we have got to look at it as a funding mechanism also for the PD. If we're going to fully staff and pay it a competitive wage, I mean, we're going to have some things as stopgaps with the economy. But then again, you would have that money to put in, which would leave less. You're transferring out of sales tax and general fund, which would also give you more money to address other things that we could do with that money.
And I think a lot of the younger people don't want to pay it. And I know that several people who have relatives in Joplin have their stuff shipped to their houses in Carl Junction, so they don't have to pay the tax. Yes, Mike, sorry.
Do we know if we're going to get any support from the state at one point? I mean, we were trying to pass this at the local level, but there was a possibility that it was going to be statewide and that it would automatically apply to us and to all cities of our size. Is there any chance of that happening?
At the lawsuit the Supreme Court struck down, you know, that's what it started all this with that lawyer in Kansas City. It would have to be a constitutional amendment, probably.
Yeah, I think it is. It's not any other sales tax in the state. They don't just automatically apply. And I think it was verbiage. The difference between a use tax and a sales tax is nil. And that's where they were thinking that was. No matter what it is, it would still have to go to a vote of the individual communities.
Yes, LaDonna.
One other thing, to talking about like feedback on why, you know, what kind of feedback we got. I will say that in a lead up to the vote, which Steve talked about, it got nasty. It got really nasty. But then even after the fact, I heard from several different people, both in online forums and actually talking to me personally, was like, well, if you would say it would all go for this, I could go out and get it passed for you. Or if you, one of the things, if you build sidewalks through a whole ward, then we'll vote for you. I mean, it was a whole bunch of little special interests that were making support hinge on what we could do. And if we had the money to do all of those things, we wouldn't be needing the use tax. But there was a whole lot of personal special interests, not just from individuals, but from groups who were like, well, we won't get out and support and help sell this unless you do A, B, or C, which we just couldn't do. It's not possible.
We need it. We need it. right now they're talking about trying to change property tax rules and having more sales tax and less property tax. And like I talked to Senator Carter, I said, they're gonna kill Carl Junction because we live off property taxes. We have not much sales tax at all because we don't have much commercial business in town. Now, if we had the use tax, that'd be a different story because a lot of people buy online. I buy a lot online. It's easier. So.
Have it shipped to Joplin.
What?
Have it shipped to Joplin.
No, then I gotta pay for it.
To benefit Joplin.
Yeah. No, all my friends are shipping it to my house.
There you go.
Okay, anything else, Steve?
No, sir. And thank you for the online comments.
What?
You know, that's where it started at was,
Yeah.
you know, people watching the YouTube video and commenting. So.
Yeah. PD? Like say anything? Unfinished? Jay?
Yes.
Harvey? Okay, I guess we'll go to new business. David?
No.
Bill?
No.
Mike?
I have nothing, sir.
Ladonna?
Nothing.
Well, I have something.
No.
First thing, since our next meeting is scheduled right now for the 16th, and I'm going to be out of town, Mr. Tully's going to be out of town, and since there are 3 weeks between that and the next meeting, I would like to change that to the 23rd of this month. That means it'll be 3 weeks between this meeting and that meeting instead of the one after that. So you'll have a problem. To do that, we're going to need a motion to vote on that.
What day?
Tuesday, the 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah, just be the next Tuesday. Instead of on the 16th, it'll be on the 23rd.
Make a motion, we move the May 16th meeting to May 23rd.
Second.
Motion by David Pyle, second by Bill McGuire to move the meeting scheduled for May 16th to May 23rd. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. Thank you all very much. Mr. Tully and I greatly appreciate that.
But they all greatly.
Don't play too much golf.
Okay,
Golf
next.
tournament somewhere.
Yeah. Next is, Elaine's put out a new contact sheet you see here.
Yep.
She is going to be getting with all of you because you're going to have to, she has new passwords for you. So after the meeting, and plus we're going to take pictures tonight after the meeting. So make sure you please stop by and get your passwords. This will be for the ones with your name at carljunction.org. And to get on that, you kind of have to you have to use Outlook, right?
Yes, you can either download the Outlook app on your phone, or if you're on a desktop, you can just go to portal.office.com, I believe it is. I'll double check that, and you can check it from anywhere.
All right, and let's see. I think that's all I got. Roger?
Nothing.
Rick?
No, sir.
Bob?
Nothing.
Holly?
How's that?
Mr. Talley? Elena? Did I take your thunder with that?
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Crystal?
I appreciate it.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
PD? Jay? All right. Is there any other business before the council?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Rick Lynn, that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 8 in the affirmative. We are now adjourned. Thank you all for attending. We appreciate that.
Doing pictures in the lobby.
Yeah, we're gonna do pictures in the lobby, just like we did before. We need to get, Dave needs to go in.
I just did the fridge and asked me, and I said, well, you're gonna have to come.
He can fit in a 2X.
Speed allowed.
No, it's at 5.